If you're watching this video, you've probably heard of EMS training and maybe seen it in a few different videos or on some reality TV show, and you're wondering, does EMS training work and is it better than weight training? So let's start off with what is EMS training. EMS stands for electrical muscle stimulation. We're using a device like this to send electrical stimulation into a suit that you wear. That electrical stimulation gets sent into your muscles and provides the resistance that traditionally weights would. Now, when you first think EMS, you might think of those ab blasters that you've seen in commercials where you just sit on the couch and strap this thing to your stomach and it sits there and vibrates and eventually you get abs. Well, that's not at all what we're doing with EMS training. In an EMS workout, we're still going through movements, all the same movements that you would in a traditional weight training session. The only thing that we're doing is changing the resistance from traditional weights to an electrical stimulation. Now, the first thing that I like to make clear to people when we start talking about EMS training is that it's not a magic bullet. It's not the end-all be-all of training. It's not even better than traditional weight training, but what it does do is provide some unique benefits compared to traditional weight training. So in order to understand those benefits, we first have to understand a little bit about what's going on when we're doing traditional weight training. So if you think about what happens when you pick up a dumbbell and you start doing curls with it, your brain tells your bicep to fire as many muscle fibers as you need to pick up the weight that you're lifting, right? And as those muscle fibers start to fatigue, your brain recruits more and more muscle fibers. Eventually, all your muscle fibers have fatigued and we can't lift that weight anymore. So the same thing is happening in EMS training. The only difference is we're changing the outside resistance from a weight to electricity. So the system is sending an electrical stimulation to the biceps, which recruits more muscle fibers than you would without, right? If I just sit here and try to contract my bicep as hard as possible, right? It's not going to do anything. We're not contracting very hard. But if I start to use an outside resistance, now all those muscle fibers recruit, we get a stronger muscle contraction. And that's what's happening in the EMS system. So now that we understand a little bit about what's going on in the body during training, let's look at what makes the EMS system unique and the benefits that it provides compared to traditional weight training. Now, the first thing is the time factor. We're able to do a full workout in an EMS system in about 20 minutes as compared to what you would get in about 90 minutes in a traditional weight training session. And that's because of the way that your body recruits muscle fibers. If we're doing weight training in the gym, your brain is sending the signal to your muscle to fire, right? And your brain recruits slow twitch muscle fibers first and then fast twitch muscle fibers. And we won't get into the science of all that, but that's how your brain recruits muscle fibers. And that's why we have to do multiple sets and reps to fatigue a muscle with weight training. Now in the EMS system, we're actually sending the signal opposite, right? So the signal is being sent to the motor neurons in the muscle, which goes back to the brain. So we're able to recruit the full muscle body, all of those muscle fibers from the very first rep, which means a lot less sets and reps, which means a lot shorter workout. The second thing is that it's super joint friendly. Obviously, we're using the suit to provide all the stimulation, all of the resistance, so we can do a complete workout unloaded, which means we can completely work the muscle without putting any extra stress on your joints. So it's great for anybody who's got any sort of joint pain, low back pain, even injuries. We're able to use the suit and get a full workout in, even with those things going on. And then finally, it's great for correcting any muscle imbalances that we might have going on, whether that's due to postural issues or past injuries. Because of the way that, again, the system sends that stimulation, we're sending the exact same stimulation to each side. So if you think about, like if you were doing a barbell curl, one side is typically going to be lifting harder than the other. But we're sending the exact same stimulation to both sides with the system. So we're able to correct imbalances very quickly in people. So again, EMS training is not some magic bullet. In fact, if anybody tells you they have a magic bullet for fitness or health, you should probably run the other direction. It's not some crazy voodoo. It's not something where you just get to sit on the couch and hook up and you just sit there and you get fit. The same thing is happening physiologically in your body as what happens during weight training. We just look at those three benefits and that's what makes EMS training unique.